The rule being tested here is one of the most complicated rules that is tested on any SAT. It is a very hard rule. However, this instance of the rule, I think is pretty easy. I think you can just kind of hear what the right answer is, but I still think we would want to approach it from a rule-based strategy and not trust our instincts so much, even though in this case they're very, very strong. The whole point of grammar questions is that sometimes our instincts can mislead us. So it's not enough that sometimes your instincts are right? Like we don't know sometimes when they're wrong, and so we need to put a process in place that is going to let us test our instincts out no matter what, so that we don't fall for a trap and then get surprised later on when we get a question wrong that we felt really confident on. So how do I know this is a rules question? Well, all of these answer choices are verbs, and yes, they're in different tenses, and we might want to think about that. But whenever I see different verbs, I always first want to think about verb agreement, which really isn't about singular versus, or isn't about past versus present, it's about singular versus plural, right? Verbs, just like pronouns, just like nouns, can be singular and plural, and we need to make sure we're using singular verbs when we're talking about singular nouns and plural verbs when we're talking about plural nouns. So right off the bat, you might just want to go through these choices and see, are they singular or are they plural? Is this idea going to matter, or is it really just about tense? Well, the letter A was already there. Are is a plural verb. Have been is also plural. Is singular, and were is plural. Now, how do we know? Well, for most verbs, when we have to choose between the singular and the plural version, singular verbs always end with S, the letter S. And so is, even though it's an irregular verb, still is singular because it ends in S, whereas are, have, and were do not. Another way we can test this, though, is just make a simple sentence. Use words like he or they, which we know very clearly are singular or plural, right? We would say something like, they are hungry, not they is hungry, or he are hungry, right? We know what's right in short sentences. So use short sentences to help you. We would say, they are hungry, they have been hungry, he is hungry, they were hungry, right? So the singular plural matches up with our expectations. Now, though, we have a complicated sentence, and we need to find what is the actual thing that is doing this action. The best way to do it is to kind of look for places that you can cut things out. So any New York City construction project using municipal funds, there's a lot here. Some of it is just extra description. This piece right here, using municipal funds, is the trap. They want you to see the word funds is plural and then pick one of the plural verbs. No good. It's just a little description. And so notice we can cut that out of the sentence and still have a sentence. Any New York City construction project is required to consider whether historical artifacts will be affected. Right? So when we cut it out, we can hear a little better that we're actually talking about something singular. And it's because project is the real thing. It's the project that's required to consider whether historical artifacts will be affected, not the funds. The funds don't consider it. And so sometimes with verbs, we can think about them as actions, and we can really actually find the subject by thinking about what does the action. I personally find that very difficult to do when we're talking about words like is and are. That verb is not like an action, so it's hard to kind of imagine in our heads what's doing the action. So the better thing is to cross out extra stuff, get down to like the simplest version of the sentence you can. Sometimes I call this the core of the sentence. And then when it's smaller, we can usually hear what is right in the same way that before, when I said they are hungry, he is hungry, they is hungry, right? When those sentences we can hear right or wrong because they're short and our brain is good at that. So cut it down, make a little bit more sense of it, and then you can find the answer pretty easily. In this case, it is C, and this is not a hard application of this rule, but it's one that you want to keep around because they're really good at using this rule against you. You can see there was a trap here. Most people don't fall for it, but you could have if you're moving fast. So you got to be careful with this rule. I definitely recommend some Khan Academy or using my study guides if you need more practice with this, so that way you can really get it down, because if you do, it's kind of like guaranteed points. The rule doesn't really change. That's why rules are great.